Guys, ready to go?
Same story.
Our watch party is about to begin. Okay. Because I shared it, so I'm not making my own watch party.
Training and nurses.
You got to school me on this, kid.
Hello, City. This is Douglas Lawson, Commissioner, Revere Beach. Thank you guys for tuning in. We're giving you our updates, COVID-19 from the city. We have a distinguished panel here that I want to introduce, and I'm excited to give these updates tonight. Because of this pandemic we're experiencing, we're in a position right now where we have to unite. We've practiced social distancing, as you guys can see. So we've spread out, we've cleared the chambers, and we're just allowing for everybody to give their updates. And I want to introduce our panel. I'm going to start with our esteemed attorney from right here in Revere Beach, Mr. Edwin Ferguson. Attorney Edwin Ferguson, thank you so much for being here with the Ferguson firm. We have Dr. Martine, who is also here to be giving our medical updates as well. And we also have my amazing co-host, Miss Issa Allen.
Everyone. I'm Issa Allen, the mental health therapist here, and thank you for joining us tonight. And Kitty. And I'm also going to introduce Miss Kitty London. Hey, everybody. The infamous.
We're trying to give as much exposure as possible, so we brought in as much videography, as much coverage in the city to make sure that we get this message out, because it's an important message. Next, I want to introduce Ms. Tanya Davis-Johnson. She is our actual Director of Office of Small Business Assistance in Palm Beach County. She's going to be joining us with Zoom. And we also have joining us on Zoom, Ms. Jeanette Marshall, the Director of Healthier Neighbors.
Good evening, good evening.
Last but not least, I want to also introduce, and I'm very honored to have our Senator, Senator Bobby Powell, our homegrown Senator of District 30. Thank you, Senator Powell, for coming in and joining us.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
So, City, let's get started. We went through a week of questions, concerns, essentially a crisis that's been hitting our community. And we wanted to address this. We wanted to give as many updates as possible from the city of Revere Beach. So we're going to first start with our Senator, Senator Bobby Powell. Senator, if you could just give us some updates from directly down from Tallahassee as to what's going on, what's affecting us, and what are the issues that we're actually undergoing, and from a legislation stance, where do we stand as a city of Revere Beach within your district?
Well, thank you, Councilman Lawson. I am glad to be here last week with our last day in Tallahassee where we finished with the budget. In Tallahassee, we ended up putting $52.5 million aside to deal with the coronavirus. The good thing about our state budget is it's about a $93 billion budget. And with that, we've had a AAA bond rating. We always keep a balanced budget in Tallahassee, and we've been putting away reserves for many years. So this epidemic or this pandemic has struck the state of Florida relatively hard, and I can imagine that there's probably going to end up a point where we go back to Tallahassee to do some more work on that budget to increase some of the funding with regard to this coronavirus pandemic. However, as it stands right now, we finished with the budgetary process. We've put an additional $52.5 million in the budget to deal with some of the issues related to coronavirus. The state issue is that we don't have enough masks, enough testing supplies, enough kits to deal with the number of people who are contracting this disease. That's why at the state level, I spoke with Surgeon General Scott Ripkeys and even put a call in with him today. Hopefully we can get another call tomorrow, as I am the chair of the Florida Legislative Black Caucus, that we can get a caucus call tomorrow to work through some of the issues that we're having in our community. But the idea is social distancing is to keep the spread down because we don't want to overload our healthcare system. Washing your hands continually, keeping your hands out of your face, and also if someone does feel like they have the symptoms and it's not a threat where they feel they need to go to the emergency room, to stay out of contact with people. That's why they're saying it can be asymptomatic. Kind of act like you have the symptoms or act like you have it right now. Stay away from people, because if you pass it and you're asymptomatic, you can give it to someone rather quickly. It reacts it reacts differently in everybody's body. 80% of the people who have it will recover, but those 20% who do get it will unfortunately perish.
Thank you, Senator Powell. Those are our updates from legislation. Tonight, we're going to make this an interactive discussion. We have Facebook Live being shared on our city website. Please like the page so you can get updates continuous from our city manager, from our department heads, and from our council. We also have our page being shared by Kitty London and also all the panelists. So please, if you guys want to ask any questions, we'll be monitoring them so that we can address some of the questions tonight and discuss the concerns that the residents have within our community. Senator Powell, I'm just going to do a quick follow-up with you. Thank you for the update. In regards to the shutdown, do you anticipate our governor shutting down the state any further?
That's a good question. And what I'll tell you is right now, there's a number of people, number of senators and representatives who have called for the governor to shut down the state completely. I'm battling back and forth as to whether I'll complete a letter, but by tomorrow, I'll know whether I will also be requesting that the governor do shut the entire state down. In terms of, non-essential businesses, what I've seen here has been some issues where people are not supposed to congregate, but we've still seen people congregating. As early as last night or this morning, I saw that the mayor of West Palm Beach issued an order to close down the basketball courts at parks. People can still exercise. They still need to get out there, get their exercise, get fresh air. But remember, the close congregation is not recommended because it's easily spread. It's very, very communicable, very, very communicable disease. From the state level, there's probably the Attorney General, the Agricultural Commissioner, Nikki Fried, originally requested that the governor shut the entire state down. I'm still listening to some of the residents in our district because the state of Florida, you got to realize, the highest levels are in Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach County. The number of cases in Broward is 311, Dade is 338, and here in Palm Beach County, I believe we were at 101 cases and 3 deaths in Palm Beach County in terms of the coronavirus, and that's as recently as 6 o'clock today. So, being that we are the most populous areas in the state, there are some counties that don't have any cases, and there's also some counties that the spread hasn't really happened. So to shut the entire state down, the governor's battling with that. But if you look at the executive orders, you'll see where the governor has also indicated that it's up to, he kind of left it to the locals, right? He left it to the county administrators, the county managers to make a decision and determine if it was necessary for them to close down their entire county. Why did he do that? I believe it's because we had this battle back and forth in Tallahassee with regard to home rule. Many people are calling on the governor to make that main decision, but it still can't be made at the local level. So it's still in the hands of the locals until absolutely necessary.
Awesome. Thank you, Senator Powell.
You're welcome.
So, Ms. Allen, I want to talk about some of the medical concerns that we're experiencing here in our community.
Okay. Am I on? Okay. So from a mental health perspective, there's a lot of, with our physical health, we are worried about our physical health, our families, our, day-to-day activities, the unknown of what's going on with our work, children out of school. But I want everyone to kind of take a time out to kind of think about now is an important time more than ever to consider our mental health and to kind of think about self-care that we can do in our house. We know we're stuck in the house and there's a lot of things that we have to kind of be creative to do because we don't want to fall into where we get like depressed or have anxiety or any future issues to happen from something that just taking care of our self-care. So that's something I just want to kind of promote to everybody and encourage to do some type of self-care in their home.
So a follow-up and a continuation from that, I'm talking about self-care and care to our community. I'm going to bring on Ms. Jeanette Marshall, because care of our community for our small businesses and for our residents is something that she is focused on within Healthier Neighbors. So, Ms. Marshall, I wanted to address a few questions to you in regards to your Healthier Neighbors grant and some of the programs that the community has for the nonprofit sector and the small business sector.
Okay, did you want me to describe what we have going on?
If you could just give an overview of what you are doing with Healthier Neighbors, the mini grant program that you have, and also some local nonprofit organizations that can benefit some of the residents here in the community.
Okay, so as we were doing Facebook Live and Zoom and all these great things, certain things may get cut out. So I think I heard all of the questions, but if I missed anything, please let me know. So Healthier Neighbors is, as many of you know, a resident-driven initiative where we listen to the residents as it relates to what their needs are for improving behavioral health outcomes in Riviera Beach and Northern West Palm Beach. A part of that, the residents have asked to prioritize mini grants. So last year we started our first investment of $50,000 into our community. And this year we will be doing the same thing, investing $50,000 into our community for residents, small businesses, inclusive of nonprofits and for-profits that would like to either do a community project or for residents that would like to start a small business. What's really interesting is during this COVID-19 social distancing, we had to postpone our grant collection because everyone is restructuring what's going on right now. So what was really important to us was to hear from community. And we were able to do a live Facebook last week, Thursday, to hear from our community as far as the direction they would like to go with their money. Because again, this money belongs to the community. Someone on our feed came up with an amazing idea that we should restructure our mini grants to include small businesses that will have to pivot and take some and do some structural changes because of what COVID-19 has caused. So there are a lot of small businesses now that are looking to transition to an online platform and will need some resources to do so. So we are looking at, and it's pretty definite, I can say, because again, this money belongs to the community, that we will restructure the grant to include an opportunity for small businesses that need a mini grant to restructure their business.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Ms. Jeanette Marshall. That is a great update, and that's something that we're going to be looking out for. So when that information does come readily available and when the grant is reopened, please just send it out to us so we can get it out to the residents as well, okay? Next, we're going to go to an update with Attorney Edwin Ferguson. Mr. Ferguson, some of the questions and concerns that we have is tenant-landlord issues that our residents are experiencing. Mm-hmm. As we know, there's a pandemic where we're asked to stay in the house. A lot of residents don't have the ability to actually earn any money right now, can't pay their bills, they're struggling to make ends meet. Our senator's working aggressively on trying to get funding down to his district, but at the same time, what risks do the tenants have in regards to their actual living situations? What rights do our landlords have in regards to the tenants paying their bills on time? What are the updates that you can give us on legal status?
Well, you say what rights do the tenants have? I mean, I think the question is there a risk of them being evicted during this COVID pandemic? The answer is most likely not. The reason that the answer is most likely not is twofold. One, the sheriff is not going to execute any writs of possession. So what happens when you have a tenant who doesn't pay their rent? The landlord gives them a 3-day notice demanding that they pay within that time, and if they don't, the landlord can then escalate to file a lawsuit for possession of the property and eviction. So in this situation, if we are, and we should assume that some persons will not be able to pay their rent because they're not earning income and they don't have a whole lot of money in savings, so there may very well be a situation where the landlord is owed money. If that landlord, he, she, or it moves forward with an eviction action, I'm not even sure that the clerk's office is going to prosecute or process the file to get it to a point of final judgment. But even if they did, and the judge rules that, yes, this landlord is entitled to possession of the property, let's issue a writ of possession for the sheriff to go and forcibly remove the person from the property. The sheriff has said in no uncertain terms that he and his deputies will not execute that writ of possession. So you kind of have this odd period of time now where even if a person doesn't pay their rent, they won't be evicted while we still have this self-quarantine order in place.
Can I ask a question?
Please, thank you so much, Mr. Ferguson.
Well, back to that question that you asked, Mr. Ferguson. Does it kind of apply to utilities also?
Well, I think that's more at the city level, but my understanding is that for the next 60 days, for example, in Riviera Beach, that there won't be any water bills, any water utilities turned off if you have a balance, overdue balance.
And if Senator Barbell, if you have an answer for that as well.
My direct contact from the Florida Power and Light has indicated that they will not be doing shutouts or shutoffs for the next 2 months.
Okay.
And just to address that question on the water local level, we've stopped all terminations or suspensions of water bills for the next 60 days, and we're going to continue to monitor the situation here in the city to see if we have to extend that even further.
And that's across the board for everyone. You don't have to call in and say, like, give your information and say, I need the. Okay.
As
That's
long
my
as you're
understanding.
you're an FP&L customer, absolutely. And I think the same thing. I think I read the same thing is happening in West Palm Beach. I need to be sure. And they've even it's happening in a lot of communities since people have spoken up.
Yeah, we've seen a few communities where it's happening, so thank you, Senator Powell. So we're actually going to go to Ms. Kitty London. She's been getting a lot of questions and concerns from some of the residents that are watching, local residents and throughout the state and the county. So, Ms. London?
Thank you. You may have addressed some of the issues, but one is coming from Lorenzo Lolly Hutchinson. He's asking, is the city going to be shut down?
So, Mr. Hutchinson, one of our concerns with shutting down the city is going to be what impact it's going to have to our residents, what it's going to have to our small businesses. We're trying to follow suit when it comes to our surrounding municipalities and our from what's coming down from the state. And right now, we've made no decision to implement a curfew or to shut the city down or shut the businesses down. What we're trying to do is just to see if we can continue to practice social distancing, if the pandemic and the numbers can actually go down themselves, and if people will just allow for the process to work, staying indoors, stop having social gatherings. These are some of the things that we've been addressing on a city level because we want to really avoid shutting the city down and putting a curfew in place. But the issue we run into is that a lot of people are still doing these gatherings, these quote-unquote house parties, these meetups and these organizations where they'll meet on the corner and they'll just hang out for hours. Our concern with that is that it's allowing for this virus to spread rapidly. And if this continues and if these numbers do not start to curve themselves, we will have to take action to shut the city down. As of right now, we have no plans to do that. As of our last city council meeting, we've enacted and given the power to our city manager to allow for him to implement a curfew if necessary, but we're trying to monitor the situation moving forward.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
What, I don't know, to the senator or to Mr. Ferguson, what does that mean when the city is locked down totally? Like, I cannot come out the house, I can't go to the grocery store, I can't go to, like, what can I do?
It would be basically non-essential services
Okay.
would be shut down, and
Like
generally
hospital,
gathering
grocery
places. Hospitals, grocery stores are going to remain open as long as they're necessary. Hospitals, you can't shut a hospital down, but you can. One of the reasons they're saying don't gather is because you can overload the system. Right now, we don't have the resources to deal with this pandemic at that level. So, as I said earlier, we don't have PPEs, and Dr. Martine can probably speak more to this than I can because I'm not dealing directly with people. But I do know that we don't have the number of tests that are necessary. We don't have the resources in terms of the mask and things to deal with people who have this, and that's why they're saying if you have it or you think you have the symptoms, which are a dry cough and a fever, a dry cough, and I guess some.
The shortness of breath is very characteristic of the coronavirus. So the shortness of breath is very characteristic. It does manifest as a flu-like symptoms, but you want to watch out for the shortness of breath. It's very serious. So if the media has not shown everything that's going on, if you look at what's going on in New York, they're out of resources. They're setting up tents outside of the hospitals to meet the need. They're asking for healthcare providers to go there and take care of the clients because they don't have enough resources. There's not enough supplies to take care of the people. So here, we're asking you to stay in quarantine, stay home, because the particles can travel up to 6 feet. So whether you're talking, you're coughing, you're breathing, it can travel. So that's why we have Clorox wipes here. We have sanitizer. We wear masks. If you're in a field where you're in contact with a lot of people, you want to make sure you're taking the necessary precautions so you do not contract the disease. As we have seen, those who are at higher risk are those who are immunocompromised. That means those who have autoimmune diseases, those who have kidney failure, our older population. So we want to make sure that they're staying home.
Follow up to that is
Okay.
this idea that even with us, we can be asymptomatic. So I've gone to see my father with my daughter and my wife, and we've sat 6 feet away from him because he's over 70, and my main goal is I want to protect my family. Dr. Martine, I consider her a friend, and as well as Ms. Avis and a lot of other nurses, but they're also at risk. So if somebody thinks that, hey, I'm just going to go out here, I'm young, I'll be able to survive, we've got healthcare providers who are trying to take care of people who are ending up with this disease, and if we aren't careful, these healthcare workers are at risk too. Remember, they also have family, they also have friends, they want to go back home as well. There's been 2 police officers, I believe, today that have tested positive. My wife was reading it to me as I was on my way. I think it was Palm Beach County Sheriff's deputies. I think. I'm saying this on the record. So I was going to say, don't quote me, but it's very, very communicable. Firefighters are at EMS. Everybody's at risk. So if you have the disease, there is no cure right now. So that's why they're saying stay at home, quarantine yourself, because if you come over it, then you'll be fine. Just not spread it.
Go ahead.
You did ask a question about what happens if there's a curfew implemented. So I would say think back to the times when we had those, I think it was 3 hurricanes in 1 year where there was a curfew. So basically what would happen at that point is if, say, the city or whomever set a curfew at 8 o'clock and you're out past 8, an officer would likely detain you for violation of the curfew. But I would ask people and encourage people to kind of think about your neighbors more than you think about yourself. So I know it gets maddening to be home, looking at the same walls, looking at the same TV shows day after day after day. But think about what happens if you actually catch this disease, or in this worst case scenario that you pose, Ms. Allen, that you're in violation of a curfew and now this officer has to arrest you. And as Senator Powell just said, you possibly are exposing that officer, and by exposing that officer, you're exposing more people in your community. Because these first responders, these policemen and these EMTs, what have you, those people are just by their profession having to come into contact with many, many people. So you can do a great disservice to your community just because you don't want to be disciplined for this, in a grand scope of things, very short period of time. So I would encourage everybody, no matter whether you're young, old, man or woman, boy or girl, please treat this thing serious and assume that you actually have it and stay inside.
I think a lot of younger people or healthier people think that it's something that they won't catch, or it's just something that older people get, and that's why they're probably like being out or not wanting to be inside.
Well, then we should share those articles that show persons in their ages 20s and 30s who are in ICUs right now with COVID-19. It is something that can be caught by persons who are not old.
And in addition to that, we're also endangering our families, our parents, our grandparents, our children. So even if you feel like your immune system is stronger than everyone else and you are immune to being affected by this, think about the other people that you're affecting, like our attorney Edwin Ferguson said, and Senator Bobby Powell. You're affecting and you're putting other people in danger. So please, just take this time to self-quarantine. Take this time to be away from people and trying to possibly affecting other people.
Councilman, I would like Dr. Martine to also talk about this real quick. I was listening to the radio this morning, and the rapper by the name of Drake had indicated he had taken the test because he was around somebody who had it. So apparently, and I've seen this, I don't know, I haven't seen it in person, but I've seen it online. The Q-tip that they use to administer the test it goes to the, like, it goes to the back of your brain. And from my understanding, it's not relatively comfortable. I don't want to take the test, so I'm trying to make sure I stay away from people. But
Yes, absolutely. Well, I've tried to get some of the tests, and I can't get it. They're backed up. So it's not readily available, and it is a nasopharyngeal Q-tip that you put in the nose, and it goes all the way back into the mucous membranes. So if you don't want to be bothered with that, please, please. Also, we want to make sure that we're boosting up our immune systems, taking our vitamins, our vitamin C, our zinc, making sure we're eating our vegetables, our antioxidants. And please, let's not walk around the stores with gloves in our hands, because what you're doing is you're cross-contaminating. Whatever you touch, you're touching everything else. Germs from the cart, from where you were before, is going everywhere. So walk around with your hand sanitizer. Please, let's try and do that.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Dr. Martine. Okay, so one of our community, some of our residents that are being desperately affected are the small business owners. As a small business owner, and some of the panelists here, we're all small business owners up here actually, we're being affected. And some of the concerns that we've run into is not being able to earn any money during this time frame. There's been no policies passed yet. We haven't had a stimulus package. We're all waiting on this check to come that we're all supposedly getting. So some of the things that we want to be able to address for our small business owners. I have Ms. Tanya Davis Johnson. If you could give us an overview and explanation in regards to the SBA loan and the bridge loan that the county is offering to assist some of these small business owners get through this time frame.
Sure. The monies are not coming directly from Palm Beach County. The dollars are coming through the USSBA and the state SBDC. We've been in direct contact with the SBDC to understand what the process is for individuals to apply for these dollars. You know, we want to keep in mind that the bridge loan is something that they are creating to provide an opportunity for small businesses to have access to capital to deal with, be it payroll, operations, etc. So the SBDC, which is housed at Florida Atlantic University down in Boca, they are accepting applications for the bridge loan, but they are encouraging individuals who are applying for the bridge loan to simultaneously apply for the SBA disaster loan. And one of the things that they did share with us was that the SBA disaster loan can be used to pay back the bridge loan if you are successful. The bridge loan starts at $50,000 that you can apply for. There are special circumstances where $100,000 can be applied for, but those special circumstances are being defined, and they are sharing information daily with us as it relates to how you can increase the amount of dollars that you are seeking to provide relief to your business. On the other front, you know, they have the website available with access to the application. We're going to go in tonight to review the application to see if it is in fact a simple form for our small businesses to fill out. And if it's not, we're going to provide some information and instructions on how to complete the application successfully. Now, what we are being told is that the SBDC is looking for businesses in the Broward and Palm Beach area, which will be dealt with out of the SBDC, out of FAU, for review of those applications. We were told today that upon opening of the grant cycle that 300 applications have been received to date, but they continue to roll in. We just want to make sure that our small businesses are prepared to respond to the solicitation for the loan. We want to make sure that they have the accurate information and that they are positioning themselves to be successful. On another front, my greater concern from the Office of Equal Business Opportunity is to address the needs of our micro businesses, which we would consider mom and pops, and our small and medium businesses, because we know that the large businesses will be able to take advantage of those opportunities and those loans dealing with higher credit scores and being able to qualify. So we're meeting on tomorrow with county administration to discuss what will be our method of addressing those micro businesses. Palm Beach County, through its Department of Housing and Economic Sustainability, does have a micro loan program. However, the funds that are in that program are limited. And so we want to just kind of explore some other opportunities and avenues for those businesses to apply here on the local level, because Palm Beach County's Office of Equal Business Opportunity deals with those businesses who are domiciled here in Palm Beach County. And those are the businesses that we want to address their immediate needs. So on today, we released a survey of 5 questions because we are trying to gain information on the business activity that is taking place here in Palm Beach County and for those businesses that are registered throughout the state. So we want to know if they have closed their business, if they have modified their office hours, if they have modified their staffing, and how they define themselves. And so we want to be able to use this information moving forward as we create other alternative funding sources for these businesses to address. And then finally, we are checking with all lending agencies to find out what's available for individuals who are being directly affected by COVID-19. So as that information becomes available, we will keep you posted. Please visit our website at pbcgov.org/OABO for the most up-to-date information that's being provided on COVID-19 and resources.
Excellent. Thank you, Ms. Tanya Davis Johnson. Just a follow-up question in regards to the application process. Do you know if they'll be expediting the process for the applicants?
There's not necessarily an expedited process that's being made available at this point, because what the SBDC is in need of is volunteers to help them process those applications. And so we're working to make sure that we have a sufficient amount of individuals who can help the SBDC review the applications as they come in order to expedite. But there is no expedited process that's really available at this time.
Thank you, ma'am. So now I'm going to pose this next question over to Dr. Martine and to Ms. Issa Allen. Some of the concerns that a lot of our parents are dealing with are their senior graduating students are losing their prom, they're losing their graduation, they don't have the ability to be with their friends anymore. All they're doing is sitting in the house on social media and twiddling their thumbs. So how is this affecting their mental health? How is this affecting their wellness? And also the parents that have never homeschooled before. How are they being affected by trying to help and assist these kids that are truly in a position that we've never experienced in the life that we've been here?
You want to go first? Okay, I would say this is great because in my practice, I am offering telemedicine visits over the computer, and I have some of the students that are coming to me saying they're doing nothing in the house, so I give them advice what they can do. You can go outside and play in the back of your yard. You can do things that are activities that you're not normally doing, like such as going on the computer or the internet. So this is also a time for us as families to get to know our children better. You'll discover things about your children that you haven't known before because we're together at this time. We're not hustling, bustling around, going to 9 to 5, trying to make dinner, doing all these things. Sit down with your children, get to know them, discover their talents and their abilities. I also advise the children to keep up on their skills, their homework, and make a schedule. Okay, you're going to wake up in the morning, try to cook something different, with your parents' supervision. Try to do something different that will keep you actively and engaged. And if you're feeling down, depressed, please give us a call because we can provide therapy for you via internet through telemedicine.
So I agree with you, and I also want to just piggyback on Dr. Martine and just say that create a schedule for your individual family, however that looks like. Every family is different. So whatever that means for your family, reference to if it's game night, if it's, if you guys play sports, go outside and play some sports just with the family. You can't go out and do sports with the whole community. Just individually figure out what is best for your family to do to create a schedule and do something productive. I mean, being bored is just going to be a devil's playground, and it's just going to create all other issues for not only the children, the parents are going through it too. Having a lot of children in your house and you're stressed out with your bills, you're stressed out with everything else that's going on. Sometimes you don't want to even kind of create that personal time between you guys because you're stressed out. And when you're stressed out, you're only going to be irritable. You're only going to be, mad. It's going to turn into anger. And, you just want to create that, like, again, what I said earlier, that self-care, stress management skills is very important right now.
We're going to really take a look at the educational process of what's happening with our kids.
I want to say one more thing.
We're actually going to be bringing in some representatives from the school district and having interviews done with them. We're going to have them go live in the next couple of days so that they can kind of address what's happening with the school district, with the kids eating, with the process of how they're actually being affected by no graduation, by possibly no prom, by possibly things that's going to truly affect these 16, 17, and 18-year-old kids. So we'll be bringing them in front of everybody in the next coming days as well, just to address some of the school district issues.
Well, that's what I was going to touch on, too, as far as the seniors. If you don't get to walk across the stage, or if you don't get to be creative. And when this is all said and done and over, you can have a graduation walking across the stage in September. You know what I'm saying? There's no definite that you have to have it in May. We're all going through this. So once the world gets activated again and we get to have some type of normalcy, just create something for each school, have something, or even if it's just a group of friends to have something together, just to show that, that you accomplish something, so just be creative, like I said, in every avenue right now, because I think the uncertainty of everything right now is what's driving people a little crazy.
Excellent. Thank you, Ms. Allen. Senator Powell. we're going to actually go back to you and address any other concerns and issues you may have when it comes to just residents in regards to social distancing, in regards to what steps we need to take, because really we look towards our electeds to direct what we should be doing. And that's why we're here now. We're speaking as leaders of the community. So if you could please just kind of encourage our residents as to what direction they should be taking.
Well, one of the things I've told people is if they're concerned with unemployment assistance, my office is open, and we've got my office staff is actually working from home now, but the calls are forwarded. They have access to their computers. Nothing has changed. We aren't allowing people to come inside of the office. And if you call, my staff has direct access to the Department of Economic Opportunity, so we can cut through the red tape for people who need to get their unemployment assistance, people who have had problems getting through online, as well as small business loans, the bridge program that you were talking about. There's a state process that you can go through that we can help you get through that process. I've also asked people in the community, you talked about it earlier, this idea of social distancing where people still want to get together, want to have parties. I had a conversation with someone recently who asked about a funeral gathering of maybe 300 people. My response was, you probably should not do that. If you love your family, there was a family in New York where I think they got together for a dinner, and 7 people ended up with the disease, and at some point 3 of them had died, 4 were in the hospital. So you want to be very careful with this. There's new direction coming from the state every day. I'm watching the numbers consistently go up. We get an update at 11 a.m. and 6 p.m. every day to see what the cases are. You will be seeing an increase in cases because Quest Labs, there's LabCorp and Quest that are doing these tests, and some of the tests are still pending. And this is supposed to be a reportable disease, so if there's a private company that are doing tests or a private organization, they're supposed to report whether the tests are negative or positive. Some of the positive results, all of the positive results are being reported, but maybe some of the negatives are not, but it is a reportable disease, so those numbers you may see, this is based on the number of tests that are given. Palm Beach County, we've had 101 people test, 101 people test positive, but remember in Broward and Dade, they've had more people administer this test, and there was spread in Broward because there was from my understanding, a group of students who had gone and flown to Italy, and they came back on a plane, and they got back in the community, and that's what happened when we call it community spread. So there were spring breakers. I understand a group of spring breakers in Miami. A few of them ended up with corona while they were partying, and that spreads very, very quickly. So I'm asking people to be very careful. If you think it's a hoax, think about this. Since my time of living and before my time, and all of us up here, we've never seen them shut down Disney World, the NBA, school. You said it earlier. Who shuts down school? Colleges. Everything is being shut down. This is not something that you want to play with. It's very, very serious. It's very dangerous. And we don't want to overload the healthcare system because it could be catastrophic. So we're trying to prevent that. The reason that the governor has not called for the entire state to go on a shutdown is because he's still trying to give the locals the opportunity to make decisions. But if there's people who are doing things socially gathering and having these big parties, it kind of starts to force people's hands because we need to get a handle on it. We'll see what happens. They're saying the next 2 weeks we should see some results of this social distancing, and we'll figure it out from there. But this is changing every day. We're having press conferences from the state level. I'm attending the press conferences that we're doing with the county commission. If there's locals that are doing things, we're all in contact. I've seen some of my other colleagues who are out in the community passing out food. I've seen colleagues who are doing farm shares and also helping elderly people. That's what we need to do, but even when doing so, remember to be very careful, because when you go back home, you've been in the community, you don't want to run the risk of infecting your family.
Thank you, Senator Powell.
Thank you.
So with, just want to piggyback off Senator. So when you come from the community, you want to make sure you're taking your clothes off, you're washing it in warm water. Take off your shoes, okay? Take a shower. Don't get on your bed when you just come from the community and go to sleep. So you want to take those necessary precautions, okay?
Excellent. Thank you, Dr. Martine. Attorney Ferguson.
Yep.
Any closing remarks in regards to legal updates? I know we spoke about tenant-landlord rules, rights, and expectations. Is there anything else that they can expect or residents can expect when it comes to just the legal ramifications of what's happening with this pandemic?
No, I think you have addressed the main issues. Can I be evicted from my home? Can I be foreclosed from my home? The answer right now is no. There's a stay. We don't have curfews, so what we briefly spoke about with Ms. Allen, that's not real right now. And so long as we all show respect to our fellow men and women, I don't foresee us having curfews. So there are no other real major legal hot button topics related to COVID-19 right now at this point, though. But the main thing is you won't be forcibly removed from your home for not paying your rent or not keeping up with your mortgage while we are still under this quarantine state.
Okay, and you also addressed keeping up with your mortgage. One of the things that I also want our residents to understand is a lot of the financial ramifications that you're actually experiencing. Contact your mortgage company, contact your credit card companies, contact your financial institutions, have conversations. Don't be afraid to have these discussions with them to discuss you're out of work, to discuss that your stream of income has been cut completely in half or completely non-existent now. Have the conversation, see what benefits they have, and see what options they have to have a discussion with you about possibly waiving payments, putting it on the back end, your car payments. Don't allow for your credit to be affected when it comes to this crisis that we're experiencing. Don't sit and wait on this check, stimulus check, quote unquote, to get here. Go ahead and make these calls now and have these discussions now.
Talking about the stimulus check, I wanted to ask one of you guys. From the last that I saw, I know that the two division was the House. I think it was the House wanted to do $1,500 per tax-paying individual plus $1,500 per each dependent, and then opposing $1,200 versus $500. Has any of that been approved so far, or what if no one comes to terms? What happens next? Because a lot of people are depending on the checks.
I'm glad you asked that question. I'm still unsure. That's the federal level. I'm obviously at the state level, state senate. I'm paying attention to it. I believe that a bill has failed thus far. As far as I know today, I don't think anything is passed, but I'm not as up to date as I could be with regard to that situation. So we just have to pay attention to that. But what I can tell you is there's some type of stimulus that people are preparing, but there's been controversy based on this idea of how much businesses should get and how much people should get, and then where's this kind of come from and how does it get paid back and all those things that are manifesting in the whole.
How long can this go on for?
It's a good question. I don't know the answer to
Okay.
that. This is you're talking, once again, you're talking Congress.
Yeah.
I'm not there.
Yeah.
I have
don't
one
know.
question for Mr. Well, thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Ferguson. If someone is caught outside their house and in a lockdown situation, what is the offense charge?
I mean, you can be arrested for violating a curfew. We don't have one right now, so we're just speculating, and hopefully we won't get one. But if the city of Riviera Beach or Palm Beach County at large says that there's a countywide curfew or a citywide curfew, and you're out not for an acceptable purpose, i.e., going to the hospital or going to your job or something like that, I mean, they can detain you. But we don't want that to happen, because what happens if you do have COVID-19? You're now exposing someone else who's likely going to have an even greater net as far as people that he or she can expose. So do the city a favor and stay home. I mean, step outside when you need to get some fresh air, but otherwise, stay home.
Okay.
I'll tell you what, I was at the press conference with the sheriff, and he did indicate that they have a lot of room at the county correctional facility, county jail. But what I can tell you is this: sometimes it's not an arrestable offense, so they can cite people and give you a notice to appear, or charge you where you'll end up paying a fine. It's just not worth it. I don't believe that if we go into some type of lockdown that somebody can prevent you from being outside of your house. That's just not going to happen. It's just large
That's why
gathering
I asked the
places.
question.
Yeah, you're not going to be locked down to the point where you can't come out of your house. That's just not even feasible, not manageable. It's something that we wouldn't imagine to happen. What you see is non-essential business services being shut down, like in Dade County, Broward County, and those people will be ordered not to come to work. What we've seen here in Palm Beach County is many of the places where people work, they have sent their non-essential staff who can work from home have gone to work from home. We're finding out things that a lot of these jobs that we never tried to do from home are now being done from home. You know, I work from home today for the first day. The problem is shutting it off, right? Because now your computer from work is there and your work is there. So do you, when 5:30 comes, do you stop it or do you go back? Like I'll be working on more plans tonight because I'm there. So
I just wanted to say one thing. If you're struggling, don't be afraid to ask people that you know, your friends, your families, your community for help. If you need food, you can't, afford to buy food, don't be afraid to ask. If the stimulus check does not come, we're going to have to figure out a way together to get through this.
And with that, I also wanted to go over to Ms. Jeanette Marshall as well, just with some of the organizations that are here. I know Bridges is one that's big here in Rivera Beach. Healthier Partners is here. If you could just address some of the nonprofit organizations here in the community that can help some of our residents.
There are a plethora of nonprofit organizations that are assisting right now, primarily for food distribution. One of the things that Healthier Neighbors is doing, we currently have a questionnaire up on our Facebook page, and I'll share the link on Councilman Lawson. I'll share the link in your live video. We also want to hear from residents about what their experience has been and what their needs are. And the only way that we can directly combat what some of the residents are experiencing is to hear exactly from them what their needs are. Again, these are residents of Riviera Beach and Northern West Palm Beach, 01 and 07. So we encourage you, I'll drop the link in Councilman Lawson's live thread, as well as you can find the link on our Healthier Neighbors Facebook page. And we want to hear from residents what your experience has been and what your needs are, so we can ensure that any type of financial support that we can provide, that we can direct them towards what those needs are.
Thank you, Ms. Marshall. And also, Ms. Tanya Davis-Johnson, if you could just give us a last update on the process, because I know you said that there won't be an expedited process for this application, but there may also be some opportunities. What is the website that these residents can go to just to get the updates on the bridge loan and also the SBA loans?
Sure. So direct information can be found on the Office of Equal Business Opportunities website at pvcgov.org/OSBA. And for the disaster loans, businesses can apply directly to the US SBA for the disaster loans at disasterloan.sba.gov/ELA. I'll put those links in the live feed as well so that you will be able to get it. I'll also include the SBDC at FAU, their contact information as well for the bridge loans, because the bridge loans will be handled here locally. They are being processed by the FAU, SBDC, and so we want to make sure that our residents are applying. And then we are in discussion on how we can address some of the more immediate need for what we consider to be micro, small, and medium businesses. So additional information will be forthcoming on how we plan to address those needs as well.
Thank you, Ms. Tanya Davis-Johnson. Okay, panel, I really want to thank you guys because the residents needed to hear this. They need to be updated. Everyone is sitting at home just fearful of what's happening because we've never experienced anything. So we're binding together, and thank you guys. We're still socially distancing, but at the same time, we're coming together to help each other. I want to thank Ms. Kitty London for streaming as well. She has an amazing show, guys. If you guys can continue to follow Ms. Kitty London and her show, she speaks to local powerhouses here in the community, throughout the state, throughout the country, just about business and development. So she's a part of the village that's expressing the concerns of what our residents have and also disseminating the information out. So thank you, Ms. Kitty London. Ms. Issa Allen, she does our mental health show here within the city of Rivera Beach. So residents, thank you so much for tuning in. I want to thank our senator, Senator Bobby Powell. I want to thank Dr. Martine, Edwin Ferguson, thank you. And our Zoom participants, Ms. Tanya Davis-Johnson and Ms. Jeanette Marshall. If anyone has any other closing statements or anything else that they'd like to say to address to the residents? Thank you.
Well, I want to say this. I always say that a life of service is a life that counts, and I'm watching you do your work in the community, and we really appreciate how hard you're working. Thank you for putting up your time. Thank you for serving, and congratulations. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Senator Powell. That means a lot. I appreciate it. Thank you. So residents, thank you again. We'll continue to give you guys updates here from the city of Rivera Beach, the best city to live, work, and play. Thank you, everyone. Tune in again. Please make sure you like the Facebook channel, and we'll keep updating you with whatever's happening within our community. Thank you. Have a great day.
Amen.